Hi, this video is about how to respond to classmates' posts in an online discussion on Brightspace. Let's start by talking about some of the best ways to reply to classmates' posts when you're participating in an online discussion. The first really good kind of response post is a clarification question. Clarification questions restate or say back what your classmate said. This is really similar to paraphrasing. You're taking what your classmate said and then saying it back to them in slightly different words. After that, you can ask a question to clarify what they meant. Let's say your classmate wrote, "I have more of a Norwegian style with the students at my center, but with my own kids, I have a French style." If you wanted to respond using the clarification skill, you would start by restating or paraphrasing what the person already said. You said that you have a Norwegian style with the kids in your center, right? You said, and then a restatement of what your classmate said. This shows that you read what your classmate wrote and that what you're going to ask has to do with this specific part of it. The next step is to ask a clarification question about what the person wrote. For example, do you mean the kids that you work with in an early childhood education center? So in this case, you weren't sure what your classmate meant when they said center, and you're asking for clarification. This is a really good kind of response post. Another really good kind of reply to a discussion post is asking information questions. This also includes restating, but then asking for more information. So let's look at the same example. Your classmate said, "I have more of a Norwegian style with the students at my center, but with my own kids, I have a French style." So we're going to restate. You said you have a French style with your own kids. Then we ask for information. What kind of things do you do with your own kids that are French style? Asking for information is another way to show that you read what your classmate wrote and also to further discussion by asking for more information. A third way to reply to a classmate's post is by resonating. This is by showing how your personal experience is the same or different as your classmate's personal experience. Again, we start with restating and then we add the personal experience to show that we understand what the person said and that we have some experience that matches it. Taking that same example, we read what the classmate wrote, restate, you said you have more of a French style with your own kids, and then include our own experience. I am the same way. For example, I say no to my kids all the time. I tell them much more often than I tell my students no. So this is a person who read the post about how this classmate is Norwegian in their center and French at home, and they thought, oh, that's me too. And then they explain that they have the same experience, but also include why their experience is the same. They say no to their kids, but they don't say no to their students at the center. And so they're giving a specific example of how the two situations are similar. The final way to respond to a classmate's post is by pushing back. As always, we restate so the person knows what we're responding to, clarify, and then disagree with what the person said. Going back to that same example, as always, we start by restating. You said you have different styles at home and at work. Then pushing back. I don't think it's good to use different styles with our students and our own kids. So this person has a criticism to offer, pushback to offer. It's not enough to disagree. You also need to support your disagreement, saying why. Here's the clarification. If we believe in one style, we should always use it. Now that we've talked about some of the good ways to respond to classmates' posts, let's look at some of the ways that are not so great. Here are some of the common poor responses that I see in discussion posts from my students. The first one is posts with no content. Somebody will read another classmate's post and write, "Good post," or "I like what you wrote," or "I agree." but there's no proof in this post that the person actually wrote it. That's why restating is so important. Good post is not enough information to really engage with what your classmate wrote, and you don't even have to read what your classmate wrote to write a response like this. So this is not a good response. Every now and then, I also see rude responses. These aren't pushing back with clarity and support. It's just saying something rude about what the person wrote, like, that's a stupid way to live your life. You should think about how you act. Be careful to make sure that if you're going to push back, that you restate, clarify, and give reasons for why you disagree. Also remember that on the internet, writing in all caps is the same as shouting. It's rude to write something in all caps on a discussion post. Another poor response to a classmate's post on a discussion board is to write "not in college" sentences. It makes sense to me that people don't use college sentences when they reply to a discussion board, because it feels like the way that we usually respond to people when we're using the internet or text. If somebody texts me, I don't reply with a beautiful college sentence. I just write something quick and informal. And if I use discussion boards online, I might be doing the same thing. But if it's an academic discussion board for class and it's considered an assignment, you have to reply using college sentences. So a response like this that doesn't use capital letters, period, or correct spelling isn't appropriate for a reply on a discussion post. I really look forward to seeing you discuss this question about the French and Norwegian parenting styles on the discussion board on Brightspace. Good luck in your replies.